For the listeners, Joey's episode, which was that like 2 years ago now? I feel like it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was like August of 2022.
Okay, yeah. So it had the highest, it was in two parts because part one ends with the girl missing and she turns out she's murdered. And those two episodes have to this day like the highest listen through rate. So my podcast platform is really cool. It also shows me, most people don't have this. I don't know, for whatever reason, Anchor and Spotify do. I can see not just how many people watched or downloaded, but how long they listened. Yeah. And your episode, and both of them are an hour and a half long. The listen through rate is like 95%. Like 95% of people listened minute one to minute end both times. The average listen through rate is about 75%.
Nice. Well, you kept them on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Well, but they also listened they got to the cliffhanger. Most people, you know what I mean? Like for me, the average, as long as the average listen is the length of the episode, to me, that's good. But to have it be like 95%, they did incredibly well. People loved your story. And so I want anyone listening to go back, listen to those two, and revisit this one, or listen today and then go back and catch up those, because I don't want to spend too much time on your original story, because we got that in full, your whole shebang.
Yes, we did.
Suffice it to say, if you're joining us now and you haven't listened to Joey's episode before, Joey was a gnarly dope fiend like me, and making homemade rigs out of stuff at work and in and out of prison, sunk the Mack truck to the rims between two houses when you were robbing somebody. So when we spoke, you had about 2 years clean, I think, and you had done it through getting on Suboxone on your own through a clinic. You loved this Suboxone counselor lady, which I thought was great. And then on your own, and I know this is something you want to talk about, we'll get to this, but on your own, you chose to taper off the Suboxone. And so when we spoke, you were off the Suboxone and you weren't doing 12-step or anything like that. You'd been introduced to 12-step over the years in prison and stuff. But when we met, you were like listening to sobriety podcasts like ours and just like living your life. And the introduction of your son, your wife's son, who's become your son, who's special needs, is really what was anchoring you in your sobriety, just to kind of catch everybody up to where we were at that time. So you end up relapsing, which terrified me. And I thought you were going to die, because these days, everybody dies. I've been very fortunate. Hardly anyone I've known has died when they've relapsed. And I can't believe that, you know what I mean? And I was like, I hope Joey isn't the one that starts to, you know what I mean? That starts this dominoes.
That cycle.
Yeah. Because it's out there now and it's way more prevalent than it was when you and I were using the first time. But you didn't die. Thank God. Here you are. So what happened that took you off of your course of sobriety that you were in when we met? And whatever details you want to share here, you take this away now, your story.
Okay, so we spoke in August of 2022, roughly. Oh, well, we spoke in like July, but it got aired in August because you're editor and all that stuff. It was a long episode, a couple long episodes to get through. And I felt on top of the world, man. I had just taken myself off Suboxone and I really felt like I was headed in the right direction. I didn't want to be, the whole reason I decided to take myself off Suboxone against my doctor's wills or doctor's recommendation as fast as I did is I didn't want, the whole goal of this is to not be dependent on something on a daily basis. Suboxone is, unfortunately, it's just a government form of opioid without the cool stuff. You don't get high. Like they've got the blockers in there and stuff. So you keep opiates in your system and it's just a way for the government to, I feel, to do that and make money. But they had me on 3 strips a day, which now I know is criminal. Like my therapist at the time, she didn't know that that's what the doctor was prescribing me. And when I told her, she was livid. She ended up quitting her practice out in Kalispell and she's in Tennessee running a thing. Her and her husband moved out there now, so I want to shout them out.
Because 3/8 is a lot. It's 8 milligrams 3 times a day. That's a lot, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I was taking 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
What should your dose have been?
I take a half a strip a day now.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay. I agree. 3/8 is a lot. I think that's what they used to do, and it's insane. And when say 2011, you were prescribed this more recently. So you're right. Like that's a ton. And I want to preface all of this by saying, obviously Joey and I are both pro Matt. He's currently on Suboxone. So whatever you think works for you, we're not going to put any judgments on that or parameters. If 3/8 works for you or whatever, do you know what I mean? Like we're not saying that, but you can say that that was more than you felt necessary when you look back. And that's what the average medical professional would probably say as well. We'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would assume. I like my doctor said when I called her and told her like, hey, my therapist Kat, and I was like, hey, I'm taking myself off this, and she's like, Joey, is it a good idea? And I'm like, I'm ready. Like I feel like I'm ready, but I had no solid substance. I didn't have a backbone. Like my mentor, I have a mentor now. His name's Chris Sharp. Great guy. He's been on some podcasts and stuff. He's an ex-skinhead from California, from San Diego.
Oh, okay.
He owns a tattoo studio and couple in Tennessee, and I talk to him on the daily, and he's really, really helped me out. But you know, how do I explain this? I should not have taken myself off of Suboxone. I should have listened to what the doctor said because I went from 3 strips in a month to nothing. Well, within like a 2 month period, I had like 20 strips, and I made those last until they were gone, and I went, you know, from 3 strips to 2.5 strips to, every other day type thing. And then I worked my way down. I was taking a quarter strip. I didn't sleep for like 12 days. I was like mentally going insane. I think I spoke about that on the last time we spoke. But man, I was out doing a side job the day before Thanksgiving, and I cut the tip of my finger off on this guy's job site, and I continued the job. I put like a rubber glove on. I was bleeding everywhere, but we had like 2 rows of hardwood to lay, and then we were going to get paid for the job, and it was cash money, so I wanted to get paid. And I'm like 40 minutes from any hospital. I was in the mountains of Montana. I was like, let's just get it done. And I mean, I'm bleeding all over this Airbnb. Like I cut myself really good, but I just wanted to push through. Well, I got to the hospital and they gave me a shot of Dilaudid, and it was like somebody wrapped me up with a warm blanket and gave me like a big hug of love. And they wrote me a script for like 325 perks, and I already know where I'm at, and I already knew like it clicked. It was that fast. It was that fucking fast. I left the hospital and I went to the casino where I knew some people in that town that did some things, and like I just stayed away from. I didn't know anybody in that town because I wasn't from there, but I had met some people, throughout the couple of years of being there, that I knew some people were on the shadier side of things. And I walked in and I got some fentanyl pills, and
that second you went from the hospital to the casino.
mm-hmm.
Wow, it was
Yeah,
that
and I got some.
automatic.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you this though, because I've had pain medication multiple times in sobriety after surgeries. Do you think, and maybe you're going to get into this, you had cut your finger off? They got to give you pain medication. So, or do you think that no, they could have given me ibuprofen and I could have made it? Or do you think if you had a different level of recovery program, you could manage a pain medication in the future? What do you think?
There's that right there. I don't think I was ready to take myself off Suboxone by any means, shape, or form. I felt like after I did the podcast, and I felt like I was really high in my sobriety, and I got really cocky, and I fell really fast because I didn't have the tools, nor did I. I mean, I had the tools, they were right there, but I didn't utilize them. I didn't reach out when I was having a rough day. And I have many of those, and I still have them to this day. And but I also have a different support system now. In wake of all that, I lost that beautiful home we lived in. The owner sold it out from under us in that time, but I think he also knew that I was using. He was my neighbor. I mean, he lived directly next door to us, and he gave me a chance, and I ruined it because I got loaded. And I think I stopped communicating with them. It wasn't so much that I wasn't paying my rent. I mean, there were some times I was a little short, but it wasn't really nothing crazy. And it was stuff that we had worked out that I was going to do some countertops in his house for him, and then just work off that little debt. It was a couple grand, I think. But my rent was $2,200 a month. So if I miss 500 here and 500 there, it adds up fast. But they ended up selling the house from under us, and we had 40 days to get out. And in Kalispell, Montana, everybody's moving up here, or everybody from other states, Washington, Oregon, California, etc. They've moved out here post-COVID and during COVID, to get away from all the restrictions of the California lifestyle. You know how bad that was, right? Vegas, all those big cities that it's locked down. But out here, Montana, they weren't sweating nobody for anything. So, and Wyoming, same thing. Good old boy town, So all these people moved out, and it just skyrocketed the market value for anything out here, which I'm sure it's done in every city in every state across the United States. But up here, it's just, it was really hard to find a place So we had 40 days. And so I've got, Kristen, my son is now 2. And then I've got Colton, who's 12, and Nevaeh just turned 18. I've got us. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe you're selling the house, And he had married a lady that was like 25 years younger, and they started selling off properties. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know how it all went down. I'm sure that me using didn't play a good side in that, he didn't want a drug addict neighbor, but I wasn't out running amok, like acting like I was on drugs. But I feel like my lack of communication and just our interactions, I just felt like he knew, I didn't tell him, but
Let me back up a little bit. So when you leave the hospital, you go to the casino. Do you look for fentanyl pills in particular? Because you were a heroin addict, or were you doing fentanyl at the end of your last run? I don't remember.
I did. I bought like 10 pills of fentanyl in Idaho on my way up at that hotel. I think you remember I found that girl and I traded my generator off the back of my van and I got those 10 pills and I stretched them out and then I got on the Suboxone. Like right after those pills, I ran out of those pills and I was shooting a half a pill at a time.
Okay. So why didn't you look for heroin? Why did you look for fentanyl? You just know that's what's around now?
I asked anybody if they had black, and nobody knew what I was talking about out here. You know what I mean? They were like, we got those Fetties, we got the 30s, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. I'd already been introduced. I kind of knew. And I got some meth that night, and I got a needle that night. And I'm pretty sure I overdosed in the shower when I did it. When I came to, my nose was like busted up, and I had obviously fallen and passed out. And
So you went straight to the needle that day, that night.
yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So did you go home after the casino? What did you tell your wife?
Oh, she didn't know. She didn't even care that I was in the hospital. We have a tumultuous relationship at the moment, and
Oh, I thought you were still together right now. You're not.
we live together.
Okay, okay. So at that time, were y'all fighting
Yeah, we've been
before
fighting
you cut your
for
finger off? So that maybe was playing a role into this as well. It had to have been.
lots of things. Yeah, like my stress level is I relapsed because I wasn't happy with me and who I was and where I was at. And I saw an easy out because boom, like I just got it from the doctor and they gave me a prescription,
Yeah. Okay.
but I'm an extremist and I know what works for me, or I
Right.
thought I did anyway.
So you did go home though. You didn't go to a hotel. I want to get like really,
Nah, I went home every night
you went
and I
home.
hit it.
Okay. How long is it before you lose your job, or do you ever lose your job? Did you keep it?
So I realized I was fucking up. I wrote a letter to Kristen and I put it on the windshield of her car and told her I was getting high. I went and I told my landlord I was getting high. And I went and told my bosses I was getting high because I wanted to be held accountable.
Okay.
I know it was just another like come to Jesus moment where I was like, I have to do the right thing. These people have invested so much time and effort into me. I have to be
After
honest.
how long? When do you put these notes out?
About like 2 months, maybe
Okay,
month
so
and
I
a
wanna
half, two
talk about
months.
the 2 months. So the 2 months from the hospital to you putting that note everywhere, what do those 2 months look like? Do you go to work every day? Do you stop working? How are you making money? What does that look like?
I still go to work every day. I do. I even work harder. I even work harder and I stay longer because I don't want to be home while I'm high. And then
Right,
after I
okay.
get off of work, I go to the casino and say that I'm working late. And I sit in the casino high for an hour or two and then I go home. Yeah, I neglected my family. Yeah.
But you're still going to work, you're making money, you're paying for
Yeah, I'm
things.
paying my bills. Yeah, yeah. We have a roof over our head at this point and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so what leads you to tell everyone and put the notes out? And had the landlord already said you've got 40 days to leave at this point?
No, no, he didn't. This is before that. He told me that July 1st of last year is when he told me that we had to be out. Yeah.
So you had been using from Thanksgiving through July. Okay, got it. Okay. So after 2 months, you start to want accountability from your boss, from your landlord, from Kristen. Did anything happen to lead you to put those notes out, or you just were like, I got to do this? And then what was the result of that?
I think a lot of it had to do with, well, there's a couple different aspects now that you asked that. Definitely, I wanted accountability because I have a son, I have a baby. Like, I'm fucking up, and I know that every night. I think about it, like, as I'm getting high, and I just don't care, like, because the drugs have such a hold on me, like, it's so fast. It's cunning, it's baffling, it's powerful, right? Like, and it's such a progressive disease because who would have thought here I am on this podcast. I've got this great job. I just got into a nice house after all, homeless shelter with a pregnant woman and all this stuff that I had to go through. I mean, I just felt like I had pushed myself so far to give up. And so it was a cry for help, basically, for a support system, in which case I didn't necessarily get what I was asking for. I got shunned. I got shined. my bosses, I'm pretty sure they just like kind of looked down on me from then. Like I got honest with them. I said, I need to speak with both of you. I took both owners in the office and I said, this is what's happening. And I just want you to know. And they asked me, needles, meth? Yes, yes. How long? I told him, and he was like, all right. And so they basically demoted me and put me in a low level position, took away all my responsibilities. And then, which is crazy for me because I've been doing this 25 years to be a helper, or like a shop boy. And I think my ego kind of got it the best of me there because I still continued to use pretending I wasn't, you
Okay.
know.
So did you consider going to treatment, or did they say, do you want to go to
I tried.
treatment? You did.
Yeah, I went and tried to talk to a treatment place, but they wanted all sorts of money. I make too much money and I don't have insurance like that. My company there didn't offer, my company there didn't offer insurance. They said it was too much money.
It's so fucking annoying, dude. Like that right there, what you just said, all of this would have been solved if we had a system set up for people to get help when they fucking wanted it. It's infuriating. It's
You send them away for a day and they
infuriating.
forget. Yeah.
Right.
I tried to do outpatient. I tried to do inpatient.
That's so you weren't able to go anywhere. So of course you just kept doing the same thing. And now everybody just knows.
Yeah, because I was honest about it instead of just, I feel like people had their suspicions, but then nobody had rock hard evidence until I told them. But I feel like being honest is the right thing to do. Like I've been a liar and a thief and a degenerate my whole life, and I've really tried hard to fix my name and change the things to where people don't look at me like that anymore. Being honest at any cost is what that means, then okay,
Right.
you
Okay.
know.
So now people know you're pretending you're not using, but you still are. Now what starts to happen?
Whatever relationship I had at home, which I mean, never, to be honest, hasn't quite been a real relationship. I feel like I jumped into this relationship out of codependency, both of us, I think. And I think we both just felt stuck. I don't feel like either one of us has ever really been in love with the other one. And then that's cool. People don't always have to vibe and get along, man. Now we just got to figure out the right way to, we got a kid involved in the game. Now there's skin in the game on both sides. So that's stuff I'm dealing with right now. I don't have any hatred towards her. I mean, she's the mother of my child, but we live together. Her kids still live here. But the relationship, I mean, it just started lots of, fights and stuff. And then, we find an apartment, we find a house. I work my ass off and I find this house as we're getting kicked out. Wait, did I jump forward too much?
A little. So now we go from, yeah, I mean, sort of, but if nothing really happens, nothing really happens, right? I mean, I guess basically like you're going to work, things are just shitty. Everybody
Oh,
knows.
I guess I quit my job there. I quit my job there because I was ashamed that I was in such a really bad position. And they tried to tell me, we're not looking down on you. But essentially, I really, really did feel like they were looking down on me. Like just the treatment that I got and the attitudes and the conversations I had with ownership and management, me being honest, like they did not trust me at all. Took away my shop key and all, which, okay, that's fine. But like, don't treat me differently because I was honest. I came to you out of help. I'm asking for help. I'm asking for understanding. I'm not asking for anything else. And that could just be my ego playing into that too, like thinking that they owe me more than they really do. But
No, you would think that, man, I guess I understand changing the locks, but you would think that, and this is the tragedy of addiction in America, not to sound like a fucking CNN special, but like the tragedy of addiction in America is that you're an adult man who's gone through this before, who has a family, who desperately wanted to change and be better. And you fucking tried to tell people. And in this country, there are no options for someone that wants help that doesn't have stellar insurance. You can even have some insurance and it still might not help you because you had insurance. It just wasn't good enough to cover treatment.
no, I didn't have any insurance through my job, but I also made too much
To get like
hourly and
Medi-Cal
annually
or whatever it is in Montana.
to get
Okay.
Medicaid. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why, not to go down this road, but I think that we should have universal healthcare. I think that healthcare should be a human right, but, so anyways, so when do you quit your job? How long after giving them that note do you quit?
About a month.
Okay. And then what did you do for work?
I tried to let it play out because I had been there for a couple years. I helped build that brand new shop. I was a big part of that
No,
business.
you
And
loved it. I know you loved it. And they loved you. They really
yeah,
liked you. I remember.
yeah, they did. And
You didn't steal from them or anything like that. There was no,
no,
yeah, see.
No,
Right.
I didn't steal from them or anything. They never went down that road. And then so I got, but I also, at that time when I quit, I also had already had another job lined up. Like I knew I went and talked to a different company and I said, hey, these are my qualifications. This is what I can do. I'm at this shop and I'm looking for a different home. Well, out here, the granite shops, they just don't like each other. Like it's like almost like two different gangs. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, bro, I'm trying to jump ship and come to your gang now. Like,
Construction out here is like that a little bit too. Like my husband recruited 3 people to his new company that he went to, and then he relapsed and he got fired from that company. And when he tried to go back to the one that he was recruiting everyone from, the first thing the guy said, he texted him. He was like, "Hey, I think I want to come back." The guy was like, "Fuck you. You took all my best guys. You think I don't fucking know you're using? You can't come back here." They ended up rehiring him, but at first it was a real big deal because he had pulled people to another. Spin is like that too. The fitness industry is like that too. We'd get annoyed if you pulled one of our best instructors. So I can understand that. So they were like, "Sure, we'll take him. Do it."
yeah, well, yeah, they didn't know anything. I told them my past, but I didn't tell them that I was currently using still. And there was this guy that was working there, and the second day I was working there, this dude, his name's Mike. He, tattoos everywhere. Been in and out of prison and in the fentanyl game, and we started using together. I worked there for a number of like about 3 months, and then they fired me because I you're supposed to work 4 10s, but there was so much work that I was working like 5 12s, and they didn't like that I was working so much overtime, and they always had a problem with it. And I'm like, well, if you guys are gonna want the job done right, like I'm not a guy that just goes. I've been doing granite marble for 25 years. I take a lot of passion and pride. I have a lot of passion, or I have a lot of pride, and there's a lot of passion in me for what I do for work, and I won't put out some bunk ass product at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, and shit's expensive, man. People want it done right. And so I would spend the time to make it quality, and they didn't like that. They were kind of like a just hurry up, get it in and get to the next one type thing. And their process was a little backwards, and I tried to correct them on some things that I thought would make the shop better. They didn't like that. And then on Friday I didn't show up on my day off because days off, I didn't know, and I finally wanted to take a day for myself. And then I came in Monday and they said, hey, we need to see you in the conference room. And I walked in, and the owner, Randy, was like, you're fucking done, buddy. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're out of here. And he was like shaking, and I thought he was gonna have a heart attack. And I was like, bro, are you all right, man? Like, what the fuck? He's like, you didn't show up Friday, and our contractor was upset because we were supposed to be there and you weren't there. And I was like, well, nobody called me, bro. Like, I don't know. So wait, you're telling me you're firing me because I didn't show up on my day off? And he's like, you're fucking right. And I said, cool, man. I'm gonna get unemployment off this one. And I walked out. That's how that ended. I worked for that shop for 3 months, and then I went to work for some Russians for a couple months while I was still dabbling using. And at that point, we had to be out of the apartment or out of the house, and I had found us another like townhouse. I worked my ass off on some side jobs, came up with like 6 grand in a week to give this lady. Her name was Marianne Chestnut. I don't care. I'm gonna blast this lady all over the internet. She robbed us. She was like 85, 90 years old. She had this place. She met our kids. She was like this old lady, little sweet old lady. I thought, little cane walker. She had her COVID mask on, walked us around the property, said that, she called my references right there on the spot and said, all right, I'd like to give you guys this place. I'm like, thank God, because I needed to be in a place within like 4 or 5 days. We had to be out of the house. So we got this house, or no, it was like we needed to be out in 2 weeks. That's what it was. And I was like, oh, thank God, I put all my eggs in one basket now. We gave her 4 grand down cash, or like 4,500 in cash. I don't know. We signed a 1 year lease agreement. We wrote down all the numbers that we paid in cash on the lease with everybody's initials. I'm used to doing dope fiend shit, not like stuff legit on paper, but I was really trying to do my due diligence because this is all we had, otherwise we were on the streets. And so she goes, okay, yeah, cool. She took our money. She said, I don't have the mailbox key. The guy didn't give us the mailbox key. So I'm gonna get the locks changed for the doors and the locks changed for the mailbox. And I'll have you guys a set of keys next weekend when you're ready to move in. All right, cool. I think we still owed her like $1,000, and we were going to give it to her that Friday when we came to pick up the keys. We drove over there Saturday morning. She said, yeah, Mom, come. Her house was right around the corner, and we drove, and there's people moving into our house, like unloading U-Haul vans. And I was like, whoa, 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 what's going on? Like, we went to her house. She said, I decided to rent to somebody else. And I was like, I'm sorry, we signed a 1 year lease agreement. That's like a legally binding agreement. Like, and she's like, I'm sorry. I said, you're going to put a disabled child and a woman and some children and stuff on the streets because you decided to rent to somebody else for a couple $100s more a month. Like, that's fucked up and it's illegal. Like, I want my deposit back. So she wrote us a check. We gave her cash, but she wrote us a check. I didn't cash it for a couple weeks. We were trying to figure out if we needed to call an attorney and like, but the attorney wanted 2 grand down as a retainer plus like 250 an hour. And I got 3 days at this point to be out and like I'm stressed to the max. I go cash that check and the cops roll up on me. She called the check in hot.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So she burned me collectively for like 4 grand. I told the cops like my work truck got surrounded by police cars and they were telling me I need to walk the money back in and like so like I was going through the drive-through ATM and
But she wrote it with her hand.
she did. She did.
So how did she say that it was, so she was trying to say you stole it from her somehow?
Or somehow something like the cop wouldn't really tell me too much. And, I said, so what needs to happen? He said, you need to go back into the bank and pay that $2,000 back or you're going to jail. So that's what happened. So we were out a shit ton of money like 3, 4 days before we have to move out. And so we ended up, what do they call that? Where you stay in the house longer, like than you should.
Squatters or whatever. Yeah, you stay. Yeah.
We squatted for a couple weeks there until he didn't come, but we got some paperwork from a guy and like before he was going to make it a legal eviction on my record, like he gave us the chances and moved everything to storage. And then we were staying in some hotels out in Kalispell. It was like $160 a night for the cheapest, shittiest hotel. And I was still going to work every day for the Russians and they were really good to me. But then I just said, I got to get the fuck out of here. Kristen knew I was using. I was trying my hardest to not, but like I was so stressed out, man. Like I was ready to break, and like, but I had this family. I got my son. Like I couldn't give up. And so we packed up and we moved out to her cousins out in Hamilton, Montana. It's like a very, very, very small town in the middle of nowhere. They film Yellowstone close to there. Her cousin, as a matter of fact, is a camera woman, and her cousin's husband is also they're camera people for Yellowstone and for Ridiculousness and a few other shows. So they're in the movie industry. They had an Airbnb that they were willing to let us stay in. Very beautiful place, old colonial mansion style home, like 7 or 8 bedrooms. Very, very nice. So I'm out there kicking, like I had some Suboxone, but I didn't want to take it for a few days because I didn't want to go into post-acute or whatever because that sucks. That's not fun. As that's happening, I get a job for a granite company in that little town, and I'm going to work every day, coming down, kicking, and then there, like some 80-year-old tree falls in their backyard of the Airbnb. So now I got to get a chainsaw and go out there and cut that up while I'm kicking. Like I was having the hardest time, man. Like I think that was when you and I were texting back and forth, and I was like, dude, I'm having a hard time. Like, and you were like, I said, I'd like to re-interview at some point. And you're like, how about when you're like 6 months clean? And I was like, okay, cool. It gives me something to look forward to. It was just another thing in it. I
It
sat in the
did?
back.
That gave you motivation?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And so I called my buddy Tyler Bacon. He's like the greatest kid I've ever met in my life. Like he's like only like in his like 20s, and very responsible. Just like Stefan, this other guy I work with, man. It's one of his best friends. So I'm up in Bozeman, Montana now. I was in Kalispell. It's like a 7-hour drive, So we were at her cousin's, but her cousin still has to like rent the place out, to make money. So like we have to bounce every few days, go stay at a hotel or something. And I called Tyler and I was like, buddy, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I just need something, and he's like, hey, good news, man. He had moved back up to Bozeman. He worked with me at that last granite shop in Kalispell, but he moved to Bozeman because he didn't like Kalispell or the people. And he started working for a granite shop up here. And he's like, well, it's not the shop I work at, but I got a good friend that owns a shop. And they're looking for somebody with experience. And so just give this guy a call. And I called Jeff, and Jeff basically told me, if you can drive here and sit down and have a meeting with me, an interview, I don't do them over the phone. So drive here. And so I drove 3 hours to just sit down and talk to the guy for an hour. He hired me on the spot, actually gave me some really good incentive to move here and then company housing. So like all my prayers got answered like overnight.
Holy shit. That's incredible. Okay.
And so here I am, and I'm clean. And
Wow, and you've been clean ever since?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Joey. Holy shit. I can't believe all this happened.
Oh, you have no, when I was running around in Kalispell, I met, how I told you before, like I always end up meeting somebody that does it like on a larger scale, somehow, some way. Like it doesn't matter where I move. Like I don't really meet people that nickel and dime. I ended up meeting this guy. I'm not going to say his name. But He knows who he is. Part of the reason that I really wanted to quit is I was messing with this guy tough, man, and he looked out for me like whatever I needed. Like it didn't matter if I had money, if I didn't have money, like we related on a human level, you know, and he just happened to be somebody that did bigger things out in that community, knew lots of people, did lots of things, had lots of drugs. And it didn't matter, man. Like if I was sick, he'd be like, bro, no problem, I got you. And like, but we would always talk about getting clean. And like, he had his daughter, and he's like, dude, I relapsed, and like I relapsed because my wife cheated on me with her coworker, and that's why I'm high right now. He's like, but I was clean for like 12 years, bro. Like, he's like, he's been off the bandwagon for like two, you know, and he was messing with some janky people, and somebody set him up to go on a motorcycle ride. I was just at his house, man. I just left his house, and he went out on his street bike, and they went out on the back road. And the guy says he hit a mailbox going 80, but I guess I can't really talk on it because I think there's a case going on. But somebody tried to kill him. They took his drugs and his money out of his backpack and left him to die. The person that took him out for that motorcycle ride. So I don't feel like he hit a mailbox. He was on life support for like a month, no zero brain activity, like. And I was like, man, like what the fuck? What just happened in these like few months? Like this is too much I can't fucking do this. And I really cared for the dude as a friend, like as a person on a personal level. Like I had a lot of love for the guy. And like Kristen, you know, my son's mom, she's just like, fuck that guy. You know, she read our text messages, and I was like, you know what? Like, you don't know, like he's trying to do good too. You don't even know who he is type thing. And I was really, really, really sad because initially I was told he was dead. His family put it out that he was dead because they were going to try and get him clean and shit. Like, but unfortunately, from what I understand, craziest thing, man, I sent him a TikTok text when we were living in the hotels, like when I was trying to figure out what to do. And I was just like, buddy, I wish I could talk to you, man. I'm trying to get clean. I'm going to do this shit for you, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, I don't know, man. Like Jordan died. Like I just had so many people die around me that I cared about, that I met in my addiction, that, you know, most people would think are dirtbags, but they're human, you know. And I really did care about this guy. And I sent him this text. Just I knew he was brain dead, and then he sends me a text back 5 minutes later. He's like, "Bro, I've been trying to get a hold of you." And I said, "What the fuck? You're alive? You're alive?" Like part of the reason I left that town is because I, you know, I needed to wash my hands, and like you almost dying like that, and like just the conspiracy wrapped up behind it and all that just was taking me down a rabbit hole. Like I had to, you know, it's part of the reason I had to leave. Like I thought you were dead, and he was like, "Nah, man, I'm alive," but he's unfortunately back in the game. So I thought that would have got him clean, man. I did. It got me clean. It did. Like watching him go through that, like, and watching him be around his daughter every day, and then I don't know, it just did something a little bit more to my psyche to make me realize like the things that I have, I'm not very smart.
Well, your life when you were using before was so connected to that type of stuff. Like remember when you got kidnapped and they were going to kill you and all of that
Oh, I
shit.
remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, right. Remember? I'm sure you forgot. All of that life reconnected you. Like you obviously got pulled back into those exact circumstances so fast. And the people that have lived on that side of the fence, right? And not every addict has, but I have, and you have, and a lot of the listeners of the podcast have, you know, where it's like, it's not just the drugs, it's also the criminal prison politics lifestyle that bleeds out of the institutions, and you're still living it on the outside, right? And it's just really dark and it's really scary. And that's worse than even being dope sick, just that life, you know? Like I remember when the boyfriend that I was with for all my using was locked up. We got arrested together and I got out after 3 days. They did a dry run. They didn't charge me. They had a year. So they let me go, but he was still in. And I was staying with a Meth Connects friend. He had a motel room and he let me stay with him for a few days. And I was looking my boyfriend up on who's in jail in San Diego. And I was on that who's in jail website all the time, right? Looking up my friends,
Right.
emailing them. You
Yeah,
know
I
what
do
I'm
the
talking
same
about?
thing.
Like, yeah, totally.
Even when I moved out of a city, I would still look at it like,
Look it up.
you
Yeah.
know.
And I was doing that on his computer and he saw what I was doing and he had done like a year in the feds. He was like a computer guy and he had a bunch of like really serious stuff on a USB once and he was in a raid. So he did like a year for it. And when he saw what I was doing, he was like, no, get that shit off my computer. Get that shit off my computer. And I was like, they're not tracking you anymore. And he was like, that's not what I mean. I don't even want the vibes of like a who's in jail girl in here. Fuck that. And I was really mad at him at the time. But then since then, I've realized exactly what he meant. I'm like, I don't want any of that in my life either because it's a whole lifestyle. And in fact, the first boyfriend I had when I was sober for a few years, right before I met my husband Skylar, I dated this guy for a few years and he was great. And he ended up relapsing. I think he's still in jail. And he was in jail and I was already married. And I kind of wanted to send him an email and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you're so smart. Like, you don't have to live like whatever. And I stopped and I was like, you know what, Janine? Regular
Can't
women
change
who are
everybody.
yeah, well, and regular women who are married, okay, don't email their ex-boyfriends in jail. That's not what like an upstanding woman in society does. And I didn't. And like,
I mean, unless you run it by your husband type thing
yeah,
and say, hey, man,
I could have, but I didn't even want to do that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what are you doing? This is a whole life that I don't want to be attached to anymore. And it's not judgment on it. It's like the vibes can come out of the computer and pull you back in, you know? And I feel like that life just sprang right into your world again, where someone's getting taken out on a motorcycle ride and almost murdered. And it's like you're back in it that fast, you know? You're at the casino. It's like,
and I feel like it's the vibe. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it's you get what you're looking for, and like maybe that I've been in the same relationships with the same women my whole life, and it's because of the vibe that I put off. It's the aura that encapsulates me, which obviously I look for the same thing, and I'm not willing to, and so that's where change has to come in.
yeah, it's something that you can work on, you know? I mean, the sobriety had to come first, but maybe now that's something you can start to work on, you know?
And I've really tried to get away from like the hardened me and be more of a, I don't know, compassionate person and understanding. But I'm also, my mentor told me today, he said, dude, you live out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, he said, it's the Wild West for you because you're out there doing sobriety on your own again. Like, what are you doing? And I said, that's why I reached out to you, buddy. Like, I don't know how to connect to people. It's hard for me to trust and then connect. Like, and I feel like honestly, my support system here with this shop, these guys are a fucking extravagant bunch of dudes, man. Like Stefan, he's like in his 20s and he teaches me all about God and he's very, very, very positive and he understands my struggle and he knows everything about. And he's the one whose house I was at doing. He was trying to set me up with his mic and his computer, so I had a nice space
Oh,
to do
okay.
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, very, very, very giving individual, and I'm lucky to have the people that I work with around me. Everybody's been really understanding too. I guess my needs. I know that I'm a needy bitch, you know.
You're not. You're not. Bro, you made $6,000 in 1 week while you were kicking. That's not a needy bitch.
Yeah, but I worked my ass off. I was given an apartment complex by a friend of mine. He said, "Hey man, I got to do all the stone in here, all the installs, but like all the stone is there. All you have to do is go and put it in each room and get the backsplash. Just seal it up, like finish the deal. Take it in, install it. That's all you have to do. All the materials there. It's all been ordered from China. It's ready to go. You just have to go there and do the job. And I'll pay you $50 an hour or whatever." And I went there every single day and I worked like 12-hour days. I didn't even show up to work. I just went to his job. My boss got mad. He's like, "Hey man, you go work for this guy." And we all worked together for the same company though. That was the
So they
thing. Like
knew.
they knew, but like they also knew like I wasn't trying to ask them to borrow 6 grand. Like I was trying to earn my shit. And I did. And then I got robbed by this old lady, man. I got robbed by an old lady.
So, are there meetings there, bro? There have to be meetings in Montana. Are there not?
There's like one meeting hall for like AA or something, not I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 miles down the road.
Okay. Have you gone to a meeting?
I've gone to one meeting since I've been here, and I've been here for 6 months now.
So, if I were you, go a couple of times, man. Like there could be I know that I guess I don't know your hesitation. What is your hesitation in going to meetings? You just don't have time or you don't really want to go?
It's not that I don't want to go. It's right now I don't have insurance on my vehicle. You know what I mean? So I'm so scared of cops. Like
I understand.
I don't want, you know what I mean? And I try to never put myself in any situation to where I have to get pulled over or anything. And it's the only car I have. So
So you just walk right downstairs to the Granite place. So you're not driving around, which is why you don't want to. Okay. So I'm only going to get on it's not even a soapbox. It's because I love you. I'm only going to say this for a minute and then I'll drop it. There are meetings online. You could do Zoom meetings. Dopey has Zooms. Now,
I've never actually thought of that.
yeah, go to the Dopey Zooms. Now, listen, some of them are stupid. Don't ever tell Dave I said that if you actually meet him. Some of them, well, he wouldn't care. He doesn't do any of them. Some of them are like,
Yeah, he said he's never in them. He's like, I don't know what they do
he's never in them.
in their.
He's
Yeah.
never in them. But they have a ton of Dopey Zooms, and it's people just talking about recovery. They're free. The password is on his Instagram and all of the meeting times. And it's going to be people like you. Start going to the Dopey Zooms so that you're at least connecting with people. You can do it in your living room on your phone, and you don't even have to say anything. Just sit there and listen to people for a little while, and you can start to connect that way until you're able to go to outside meetings once you have your registration dealt with. Because the men, I'm going to make a generalization, but it's probably going to turn out to be true, and you can let me know in 6 months or a year. The men in those meetings in Montana, AA meetings, they probably have some good fucking recovery and some really insightful things to say. Seriously.
Oh,
Like,
I'm sure. I'm
yeah.
sure.
So once you have the ability to go, just start going, and in the meantime, you can go to Zooms online, so that, because your friend is right, you're doing the same thing. You're trying to do sobriety alone again, you know?
Yeah, and it's and
I know those guys around you are great, but are any of them sober? Like Stefan or any of them, are they sober?
no, they don't. They're non-drug users. Like they're not. None of. They're just good kids that were raised right. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's
yeah,
helpful. That's
it's so
helpful.
weird for me, man. Like the culture here and the culture where I come from are just two colliding different worlds, but they're not. I don't know what my hesitation is about going to meetings because like not having insurance is just me making another fucking excuse, man. Like,
I mean, possibly only you know that, right? Yeah.
no, yeah, no, I mean, in reality, I mean, I was just thinking about it. I mean, it's just me making an excuse because I can have Stefan drop me off or something, I can always ask for a ride. Well, I think if we're being real, I work so much, I work 7 days a week that the time that I get to spend with my son, I want to spend with him.
Totally. Totally. Do the Zooms online, dude. Do the Dopey Zooms. I'll send you the thing after this. I think it's on his.
Please, yeah, please do.
The schedule I feel like for some reason he pulled it down, but I think the schedule is on his Instagram. Let me look. Yeah, it's still there. It's pinned to his Instagram at the top. All the meetings and the passcodes and all that stuff is on the Instagram. So, pop into those. So you stay sober after you go to the place and you kick by yourself. You've been clean now ever since. When do you get reconnected to Suboxone? How do you decide I should be on a half a strip? I need to be on a therapeutic dose. Let's connect here. How do you get that?
Kristen takes Suboxone, and instead of us paying $400 a month, I know this is probably gonna get me in trouble, but instead of
No, it
paying the
won't.
400 bucks a month,
You just take some of hers. That's fine.
she doesn't take a full strip a day, and I only take a half, so it works out to where her daily script works for both of us, and we save $400 a month.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that's working for you, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So that's 2 milligrams. Yeah, that's 2 milligrams. Or
Yeah, I
4.
take it at five. Take it at no, it's oh yeah, half a strip, 4 milligrams. I take half. I take it at five in the morning every morning, and
Okay. Yeah, I was on a therapeutic dose for a while. It was tiny. It was like 1 milligram, and I was good.
I need to start cutting that down though. Now I think I'm gonna try and trim.
Do you?
Well, I've been doing a half a strip for 6 months, so I feel like maybe I can do a little less than that, and because essentially, but I wish I would have just done it the right way initially instead of like I did some like the doctors were like, hey man, you're gonna do you could possibly do some pretty gnarly damage to yourself if you
It's too fast.
continue to go down the road that it's too fast, like mentally, and it's just
I also think that is probably why, because post-acute withdrawal can be 6 to 9 months. And if you took yourself off in like June, you were done. By the time I interviewed you, you were completely done. And you cut your finger and got that Dilaudid shot in November. You were still probably in post-acute withdrawal to some extent, which is why it took you over so much. So that coming off that quickly maybe did contribute to that. You know what I mean?
I just feel like mentally I wasn't ready, and I feel like anybody that's out on Suboxone, that's on a therapeutic dose, and you want to take yourself off, like make sure you consult heavily with your physician, man, because I wish I would have listened. I went through a lot. 12 days of no sleep. I mean, and I was going to work every day. I was
That's
running $1 million
insane.
machines.
That's insane. I don't even know how you did that, dude.
I don't eat. I was lots of 5 hour energies. And I think I even like bought like initially like some of those little packages at Kratom. And I was doing that like because my little sister told me, hey, when I kicked opiates, Kratom helped me with the withdrawals, but like don't take too much. So I think I might have even done that. I'm not sure. And then I know one of the days I ate a 200 milligram THC candy bar and I drank a 100 milligram drink. And so I had like 300 milligrams in me and I still didn't sleep, but my body was asleep. Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom and it was like the hardest thing in the world to do. Like I dragged my legs off the couch and it was
That's a
terrible,
lot of
man.
THC, dude.
I wanted to sleep. I just wanted to sleep.
I understand. I
I
understand.
think I even took a Xanny bar, but I only
And
slept. I
it's
took a
you
whole
still
bar and I
didn't
slept.
sleep?
No, I just stayed up, man. My head is a rough neighborhood to walk around at by yourself.
I know.
I think anybody can relate, especially anybody that's been in our lifestyle, man.
Oh, you're killing me. Okay, so how long's it been since you detoxed at the Airbnb? Where are we at right now?
I don't know, somewhere around, what, 6 months or something, maybe a little more. I'm not sure. I haven't really been keeping track. I feel like, I don't know, it's maybe that's something that should be important, like the days and the months and stuff. I just feel like today I'm sober again, so it's all that matters.
Nate would argue that it's not. So it really is what works best for you. For some reason, for me, I think because I was going to treatment in very 12-step indoctrinated communities, which for me worked. The whole clean time thing was so celebrated and I couldn't ever get any. So that when I did, it's been a huge thing for me. And so my time is a big deal. But like Narcan Nate and I have had episodes where we debate the validity of that, and he doesn't think it should be a big deal. So for you, if it's just like whatever, I'm sober today, if that works for you, that's okay. But about 6 months ish, how are you feeling? Because I'll be honest, I was a little worried about your mental state when we got on. Like, I didn't know what version of you I was going to get because I knew you had been through so much. But on Wednesday when I saw you, because we tried to do this a few days ago, I was very pleasantly surprised. You're bright-eyed, you're energetic, you seem good today. I mean, how are you feeling 6 months in?
I wake up every morning and I don't know who I am or what I want in life. I struggle with that on a daily basis. Yeah, that's a tough one. So I mean, I'm still dealing with some things mentally. I don't know. I've thought about seeking like going to talk to a mental health somebody or another, but there again yet lies the insurance problem and stuff like that. So I keep seeing the commercials for like BetterHelp and all that. So or whatever, or Hims, like they help out or whatever. So I think I might look into to something like that.
Yeah, try BetterHelp or one of those, because with the money you make, you could do it maybe once a week. It's probably $75. It might be $100. I mean, it's certainly an expense, but you do okay with what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe it would be worth paying that until you can get insurance down the road or something. I think that would be a really good idea because when you were seeing that therapist, Kat, you were doing really well.
I was, and she has. I talked to her the other day, and she's like, "What are you doing for community, bud? Like, what are you doing?" Like, and she's always had like a way of like, "Hey, stupid, like, yeah, I get your think this way, but like, let me just tell you this. This is probably why you feel it this way." And so like, come back full circle. I think the reason I don't keep. I was just thinking about this as you were speaking. I don't really like celebrate a recovery day. It was like when I got my 2 years, that was like a really big day for me. Like, like I went to, and I didn't have like the people that I thought cared about me mostly weren't there. Like nobody said, hey, you got 2 years. I got, just maybe I wanted the accolades from it. Maybe I felt like I deserved more and it upset me. I don't know. And so maybe I don't, it's just not a thing for me anymore because my expectations were a little bit high. Maybe they weren't high. Maybe they were just, I feel like if my significant other or something got 2 years, that's huge. I'll
That
make a
is
whole day
huge.
out of it. You know what I mean?
And if you'd been if you'd been in a 12-step community, it would have been a really big deal. Somebody would have given you a cake. So you should go.
No, I get it. I get that. I was going to meetings there here and there.
Okay.
Then, like once every couple weeks or something.
I think I posted about it on my Instagram, right?
Yeah, you did, and some people from my
I
work
think
and
Nate
stuff like that.
did.
Yeah, no, you guys
But
definitely
that's
did.
different from right there in your community, the people that are in your home that love you, that work with you. That's different. I get it.
Like the people that I worked with, like bought me like gummy bears and shit. Like they were cool. Kimmy and Tiff, like the girls there, they were all about it. Posted shit on their Facebooks and stuff. And they're sweet people. I love them to death. More like I kind of wanted it from like my significant other, like you know. But I definitely, I mean, there's whatever.
So part of this I really think should be, how old are you?
I'm 42.
You're 42. So plenty of time to like live the life that you want to live and that you deserve. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like you had to get stabilized first and get this 6 months, but look into the cost of BetterHelp, and see, I want you to be able to live the best version of your life. I know you do too.
Yeah, I just don't know how to get there. I'm too stubborn to ask for help. And I'm gonna be honest, like me reaching out to you initially a few years ago about this podcast, I'm not one to put myself out there. I have a hard time, I don't know. I feel like I love myself a little bit more now. I can look at myself and be happy, but for a long time I couldn't. So putting myself out on a platform for everybody to see and hear like was really tough, but I'm glad that I did it. I can't public speak. Like, I mean, I'm doing it right now, but
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did. Your episode did really well. And I think it was probably some sort of God thing that caused you to reach out. And you know what I mean? Because now you did have this connection to reach out to me again later when you needed it, when you were we're doing this again. You know what I mean? So it's like this has been some sort of thread for you as well that does connect you somewhat to a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I listened to every episode. I mean, I definitely am. I need to join your Patreon and show you a little love. I haven't done that yet. My bad.
That's all right. Dude, did you listen to the one by any chance yet this past week with Jessie with the high-speed chase? She's like
Yeah,
you, but a chick. Okay, you did. All right.
yeah, yeah. She's awesome. Of
Dude.
course, I listen to it like that more. I look forward to Thursday mornings
Oh,
because like
good. Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's like that's what I wake up to.
Hey, did you listen to Dopey on Friday?
I haven't listened to any Dopey in like a few weeks. I've been on some other stuff. I've been listening to a lot of Ian Bick and like Matt
Oh,
Cox
cool.
and
Okay, awesome, awesome. No, well, my show is way more important than Dopey because he never recommends me to anybody else, so I shouldn't even do that. But the one on Friday, I was wondering what you thought if you had listened to it because he got some like conflicting feedback. I thought it was really good, but the guy's like a motivational speaker, and he had a very motivational speaker tone, and I can see through that and see the story was amazing. He got busted in Houston he was the ringleader of like a gnarly car theft ring and was sentenced to 65 years in prison and is out now, obviously, and wrote a book and is a motivational speaker. His name's Damon West. So he's got a really good story. So I was just wondering if you would listen to it. But yeah, Jessie on Thursday was so good. So she sits down. She's this beautiful girl. I didn't know a ton about her story. And then she starts talking to me about like, she's hosting these underground poker games in Malibu. And then they've got like a bank, the mail key to the back, bolt cutters. She sent me the picture of evidence from her case. I think I'm going to post it on my Instagram. The wigs are all on the ground.
that's awesome.
Needles
Oh yeah, she sent you the
everywhere.
wigs.
Yeah, she sent me the wigs. She sent me the wigs, bolt cutters, needles, credit cards, IDs, like not even like tweaker stuff. It was like tweaker, but like high end. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like 007 tweaker.
yeah, totally. Like not my level of shit. Her episode was really good. Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, I actually, I guess referred that episode to a few people that I know. I was like, you guys should listen to this. Like, I don't know how to really do all that, but
Yeah.
not very technologically savvy. I make rocks shiny for a living. That's all I do, man.
So right now, what is your next steps for like this week in your life? And, we got to catch up. I'm so proud of you for getting it back together. What do you want to be the next steps for your life in the next like month or so? Because I want to catch up again in a few months. Like we're going to keep doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm totally down for that. Right now, I'm trying to find where God fits in my life. I'm trying to open up that door and be a little bit more, I can take it in a little bit. I'm trying to work on peace, being at peace. Like my mentor, Chris Sharp, he told me today when I talked to him, he's like, brother, like you're living like it sounds to me like your life is filled with stress and fear, and that's not how God wants. That's not what God designed us for, you know. Like you can't live like that. You need to seriously do some like inward looking and cut out the fat. But you know, so it's gonna be this week. I need to write a list of goals because I think I've come to that point to where I can rely on myself again. And I know that it's scary, man. I'm pretty sure I overdosed at least 3 times on fentanyl.
And just like woke up somehow.
Yeah, in the bathroom, I would wake up to go to work, and I would wake up an hour early on purpose just so I could sit in the bathroom for an hour before I left to go to work, and I would shoot up, and I knew that I'm a savage, man. I'm a fucking drug dumpster, and I'm just not a good person when I use, you know. I mean, I'm a good person. I wasn't out like robbing people or nothing like that, but like I deceived my family and like, you know, I lied and I spent money at the casino and like I did a lot of stuff that untrustful things or things that don't sit well with normal human beings. And I feel like I really need to work on getting rid of the prison stigma, maybe the way that I act or react about certain things. I don't know. I just feel like I've got a lot of stuff that I need to work on inwardly.
So you don't give off at all the prison mentality anymore, at least not in these moments. I guess I don't see you day to day. You don't even use the lingo or anything. You know what I mean? Maybe you do in a conversational, but you know how it's all like, you gotta be fucked up, blah, you know, like the whole thing, like, you know, oh, he's got the blues, give me the blues, like the whole language, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't give any of that all. And I don't even necessarily, and I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing, but I understand the desire to want to kind of shake that, you know? But I don't know why this is thinking of me to say because I haven't started it yet, but a girlfriend of mine recommended a book called The Purpose Driven Life. And it's like,
Oh yeah, did that.
oh, you did? Okay. I ordered it. I think it gets here today. I've never done
Get the
it.
journal with it too. And there's the purpose. Did you get it with the journal? It's the
No,
purpose
I
of
just
the.
ordered the book, but I saw there was a journal. So I can get that too. Maybe do that again. Because I was going to say it would give you some direction because it's one thing to think like, well, I got to get back in touch. Okay, but how? Right. So like maybe that or a series
It's a good
like,
idea.
yeah, you know, why don't pull that back out again? You know what I mean? Like do that again. So you've actually got like some structure to it.
I've got every morning Chris sends me something like an hour long something, and a lot of it's by this guy. I think his name's Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That guy's super amazing. I'll send you some of his stuff. I'm like, wow, this guy's awesome. You know, he's like when he's like, Chris is an old skinhead, you know, like he's like, hey man, I got the hip hop preacher, and I was like, what? All right, cool. Like let's check it out. And like and he
But
goes,
that shows
I
you how
want.
much people can change. He was fucking SDSH probably, and now he's listening to a, you know, a black preacher. I'm gonna look the guy up right now while we're talking.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's awesome. I listen to a lot of his stuff, and Chris tells me, "Hey, man, just do me a favor, like listen to one above or below on, you know, on the YouTube that I send you. Like, listen to the one below it as well, or one above it. Like, reach out." So I've been listening to him a lot, and then Real as Fuck or Real AF something or another on Instagram. He's some motivational type God guy as well, and he sends me a lot of stuff from that guy. And I check these clips out in the morning, like as I'm getting set up and ready to go to work. So it definitely like he sends them to me early too, and so I'm up early, and it sets me up for a good day. It has since, and I just started talking to Chris about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, good. How'd you find him?
He was on Ian Bick, and his story. And then he was on it like last year or something, but I'd scrolled back and was going through some episodes, and it was like Skinhead Enforcer, you know, this and that from California. And so like I clicked on it obviously because maybe I know the guy, you know, and like I listened to it, and I immediately found his Instagram, and I reached out to him, and I said, brother, like our stories are so much alike and I have nobody to talk to. And he reached back out, and he's been monumental for me, man. He's helped me out a lot. Appreciate that. But it's weird how too, you know, he didn't know me, I didn't know him. I just said, hey, our stories are so crazy. And I even forwarded, I said, here's my episodes on this podcast, you can listen to it if you'd like, you know, like check me out, whatever.
Oh, and you sent him mine from Chasing Heroin?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah,
Should I
and
interview him?
he's like,
Maybe I'll interview
you
him.
should, you should.
What's his name?
His name is
What's his name?
Chris Sharp
Okay.
Tattoos.
Okay.
It's SHARPE on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, and that therapist that helped me out so much, she moved to, and so he's in Tennessee. And then my therapist, Kat, and her husband, Chad, moved to Tennessee, and they're opening up some sobriety stuff out there. And I can also pass you those numbers too to throw them out there. If anybody in Tennessee is looking to get help, she said I can give out their personal numbers and they're willing to answer
Okay,
always.
cool. Okay. Okay. All right. And if hopefully this doesn't ever happen again, but if this happens again and you need treatment, let me know because there are people in San Diego that I could talk to and they're all same fucking thing. It's a ton of money or whatever. But like I know in California, like some of these treatment centers that are owned by people that I know, they kind of have good ways to like get around the system, to be honest. And
Yeah, I come out there and then I file for Medicaid. I come out there, get an address, file for Medicaid, get it real quick. And then, yeah, it's,
or they'll even tell you what exact insurance to get. I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I think they'll say like, okay, get Blue Cross tomorrow, bro. This plan. Don't tell them we said that. And it's going to be $75 for the month. Okay. But then we're going to bill them 100 grand for this. You know what I mean? Like they can walk you through that process. So if God forbid this ever happens again, or anyone that's listening, if you guys need any help, I've got finally, I think a place like that will kind of, help you get through it. I think you're okay now. I don't think it's going to happen again, but if it does,
no, no,
that's an
no, it's not.
option.
It's definitely, it's not a thought in my head. I'm gonna be honest. I think that getting high and using was a thought in my head even before I had to go to the hospital. And I think that the fact that the first one was an IV, Dilaudid shot, whatever, like, I mean, I didn't want my finger cut off, but I essentially got what I wanted, man. And it's so crazy how you can manifest things if you think about them too much.
Totally. Yeah.
So I'm trying to manifest good things, and what I want is I want my son to be a man of God, and never have to like go through the things I went through.
And he's two now. How old is he?
He's two, yeah,
Okay.
he's 2.5, and then I got my daughter, my real daughter Tegan. I saw her for the first time in 10 years
Oh
in
shit.
January.
Okay. Okay. How's
Yeah,
she doing?
she seems to be doing very, very well, and I'm super proud of
Okay.
her. My mom called me and told me that she was going to be wrestling here in Bozeman at the high school for a tournament for the weekend in January, and so I showed up there. I hadn't seen her in 10 years. I unfortunately my mom didn't get it cleared with like my ex or even tell my daughter apparently,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and so I don't think. I mean, I haven't spoke to her since.
Okay. 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 But you got to see her for a moment.
I did. I got to see her. I got to see her wrestle too. She's a beast. She's
Oh, that's
such a
awesome.
savage. She's this little skinny white girl with these big blonde braids, two big braids, and she's in her little singlet. She's 14 and she's a savage, man. Like
That's awesome.
I wish that the pretenses were a little different, and I would had I known that I wasn't really welcome, I would have just sat in the stands.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I brought her like, half a dozen roses and a nice necklace for Christmas and stuff, and like, yeah, I just wish things would have been different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully moving forward, you'll be able to connect with her again and set up the context the way that, appropriately for the best possible outcome where she knows and, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I walked up and there was like 2,000 people here. It was like the craziest schooling event I'd ever seen, and it was like snowing, blizzarding snow out here. It was crazy, and like there's like 15 schools there, and there's 3 gyms. I couldn't find her forever, and then like I like look over and I see this little girl, like her complexion is like see-through white, and she's got very, very, very blonde hair. And I saw it said Cody on it because I just found out she lives 3 hours away from me now in Cody, Wyoming. They moved from Casper, so we're only 3 hours apart, and that's why she was wrestling here. And I saw her. She was just sitting there like watching other people wrestle, and I sat down next to her and I was like, "Hey, kid," and she's like, "Can I help you, sir?" And I was like, and like we locked eyes, and she was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh my God, like you didn't know it." She's like, "You live here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I live like 2 miles away." And she was like, "Oh." But then I just felt like, it was a 2-day event and I didn't want to be overwhelming. It was very uncomfortable.
totally.
I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I put her in a really bad place. I feel like she lost every match that I was there to watch her wrestle, she lost. But every one that I wasn't there to watch, yeah, I just put her in a bad spot, I think, and it sucks.
Well, you didn't know that though. You were under the
No,
impression
I
from
would
your
never do
mom
that.
that she knew you'd be there. So you shoulder a
Yeah,
lot of blame. Let's take this one off your shoulders. You did the best you could.
yeah, man, that one sucks.
Yeah.
But so I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's shit I need therapy for, man.
Yes. Totally. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, dude, I'm glad we got to catch up. I'm really glad that you reached out, and we're going to continue to catch up, and I'm going to continue to follow up with you. And if you decide you want a sponsor, I mean, my husband could sponsor you. He's got 18 months, like, I mean, they're like, if you want to start working steps and,
It's very clear I need to work the steps and I need a sponsor. I just, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm really glad we got to talk, and I care about you deeply. I'm so glad that you reached out. And I'm very glad that somehow me even saying in 6 months we'll do the show was a motivation for you. I didn't think that, I was just thinking like, well, let's, make sure you're stable first, right? And then do it, because it's a lot of pressure and, but I'm glad it actually somehow. So I'm going to tell you right now, I want to do one again in 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Run
And
that.
I know you'll follow up. You're good about that.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
You're
Yeah.
very good at that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing again. So honestly, so vulnerably, like there's so much good stuff waiting for you. And the fact that you have the resilience and the fucking strength to kick cold turkey out there and get your shit together amongst all of this other stress, like there's really nothing you can't do, man. Really.
Yeah, no, I believe that. Obviously I'm not dead yet, and so there's a higher plan for me, and I believe that. I just have to figure out how to, I got so much to encompass that I need to learn about me still. The 2 years was cool, but I think I lived on like a fucking cloud for 2 years because I'm sober, I'm sober, I'm sober. But now I think this 6 months has really shown me like reality. I'm like, dude, yeah, like you worked really hard to get where you were at, and look at how fast it just washed away, like minutes, fucking minutes. So like my goal out of being so vulnerable, like I told you stuff that nobody knows today on this podcast, like about my addiction to my use and how long it lasted and stuff. Like I don't care. I'm putting it out there because it's put it. I want people to know that no matter what situation they're in, there's always hope. There's always help. And just reach out to somebody, because I feel like had I reached out to somebody, I wouldn't have gone as deep as I did. But I almost feel like I needed to do that. You know?
Yeah. Well, and the message you'll continue to be able to give is just going to be incredibly powerful, something to think about. Like the whole, like you said, the prison mentality and being able to share about the harm reduction and the Suboxone and how to do it. And then what it's like to do it without God and a foundation, and what it's like to do it with God and a foundation. And all of that will be such a strong message, and already is, it already is, so.
Yeah, it's just I'm a work in progress, as they say.
We all are. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I've loved having the fish tank in the back too. That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to try to make that happen, so it was something cool to look at. Yeah,
it looks really good. It looks great.
It's the office of Slabworks of Montana.
It looks okay. All right,
showroom.